Here we go. All right. So today, inshallah, we're going to do two things. We're going to do the test. At least we'll do that oral test, and we'll also be working on the other box, which is box 5 and box 6. For the box 5, it's actually talking about one of the most, let's say, mutasha'ib, like it's so branched out, and which is the preposition ma. But you want to always remember that, let me start from here and then go here, because they would help you explain it better, because the word ma, just the ma itself, can actually have so many different meanings. So let's just see right here, starting with the preposition be. Be in itself, it would be, and it would be connected with a noun. So bil qalam, I will write bil qalam. Be, and here it would be part of, he should have put dots over here, and then in order for you to know that it would be in the beginning, not the end of a word, and that would be connected to a noun. So bil qalam, bil kitab, it would be, and then it would mean with, with the pencil, with the book, etc. All right. And an is about. So an is about. And the difference between an and be, by the way, be, it's not only with, because there could be different meanings for the be as well. But this is the most common usage. An is about. So be when you are actually using that item, but an is going to be talking about something. So it's referring to something. Fi is in. So fi is in. Fi, and it's going to talk about fi, and it's going to be about something that you're inside. It's going to be, there's going to be a place. But sometimes the fi can also give an explanation in where there's something called balagha, and balagha is when there's a like a literature way of usage. So for example, the ayah says fi judur an-nakhl wa la usallibannakum fi judur an-nakhl. Are you going to be able to actually go inside the tree branches? So no, you're not going to be able to go inside the tree branches. It's supposed to be ala judur an-nakhl. But the reason why it said fi judur an-nakhl, on the tree branches or in the tree branches, is really for a different reason, which is balagha, which is like a literal some different form of the literature, in where for you to understand that he put the magicians on the palm tree branches so hardly fastened that it seemed like they were actually in it, because they had become so part of it. So just on the side, so fi would mean inside, fi in fi في جوفنا كذا, in our mouth there's such and such. Ka, let's go for the ka. Well, the ka, I'd like to speak about the ka, because it's so easy to talk about the ka, because the ka is more giving you like a similitude. It's really similar to mithla, but the difference between the ka and mithla is that the ka would kal asad, for example, katta'ir. Not always. So when you're making mithla, which is the one that we were doing in the previous boxes, when you're doing mithla, you're giving a comparison, okay? But when you're doing the ka, it's basically called a tashbih, in where you're making not a comparison as much as you're making like a metaphor. You're giving a metaphor, you're describing something, you're here giving me an idea by comparing it. So let's say, like the ayah was actually saying, وَمَا يَقُومُونَ إِلَّا كَمَا يَقُومُ الَّذِي يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنَ الْمَسِّ. Okay, I used the wrong example. All right. But here, when we look at the ka, if I were to say, for example, Hamza أو حمزة كالأسد. That Hamza kal Asad. I said ka and al Asad. And al Asad would mean lion. That Hamza is like a lion. All right. Just the ka next to the word al Asad would mean that Hamza, I'm talking about Hamza, that he's like a lion. But here's one thing is that does that necessarily mean that he turned into a lion? No, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor to help us see that the speed or the brave, that brave personality of a lion is like the braveness that we find in Hamza, as an example. So same thing when we look at the ka here, this is just to give you not an actual thing. So Hamza did not become a lion, but this is just to say, well, his braveness is just like a lion's courage, for example. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same thing. So kama, or same thing with kama. Ka and kama. Do we find kama here? No. But ka and kama are very similar usages. But ka, you will find it in the beginning of a word, and in the beginning of a word, and most of the times it's actually it always comes with a noun. كالأسد كالفأر كالبقرة it's giving you like a similitude. um, and kama would be a little different in where it's making a pattern. All right, so very similar to mithla. It's making that pattern in order for you to realize that similitude and how different they are, to find and see the patterning. The li and the la. Okay, so li, and it would again li, and there would be a noun after it. Li Maryam kada. For Maryam, she would get this. So li would mean that part in where you're talking about that it belongs to that person. So li would mean that something belongs to that person. All right. So in situations like that where we could see that la, and by the way, there are some differences of qira'at sometimes because of, is this qira'ah as a li or a la? And then they would go into those different qira'at. La, uh, because sometimes la can also mean not only for, but la'akulan, about something that you will do in the future. So this is a determination that I will do such and such in the future. All right. So this relates, the la would relate to the future versus the li would mean that belongs to somebody. So the li would mean belonging to someone, and the la would mean that you intend to do something in the future. Okay. La akulan. I will eat. La akulan. Min. All right. Now the other preposition is basically min. Min is from. So we would say, I came min America. I came from America. Min. And ila would mean towards, and then we'll go into differences of opinions between scholars on, is that particular item included or not. So if I would say إلى, فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق. إلى does that mean when I'm making my wudu according to the ayah, does that mean that my elbow is included or is it not included? Well, even in Arabic, they would have differences of opinions. Where's the destination to? Is it the beginning of the destination, or is that final destination or that final piece that I said ila, is that included or not? Then they'll go into all those differences of opinions. Let's move forward, and we've got ila is to. So I've got to something, towards something. So from such to ila, such place, ila. Well, that would be towards, or the end of something. All right, so let's move on. And so right here, and ta. Ta. This is very rare. The word ta is actually very rare, and it would be by an oath. So tallahi, you would find it only coming before Allah. All right. Tallahi, it's just like wallahi, some people have a habit of saying wallahi. So tallahi would mean something very similar in where you're actually doing an oath. So an oath would simply mean that you put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as your witness. So you put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as your witness, and in this situation, the word instead of wallahi, you would say tallahi. Tallahi la akidanna أصنامكم. Tallahi, tallahi. And it only appeared, I believe, twice in the Quran or maybe once. Hatta, hatta and ila have very similar usages. Hatta and ila. Hatta until. But more hatta would more come relating to time. And ila would be more relating to place. All right? So حتى العصر, until asr, more relating to time is, so حتى, it's until, and ila would many times be until as well, or to. All right. So حتى is until, and على would be on. على would be on. And sometimes it can also, the word ala can also sometimes be about as well. So sometimes it can be about. So, I would actually put on and about right there. Ma'a is with. ركبت الخيل مع صديقتي. I rode on the horse with my friend. مع, with, along. Another word, along. Because with and along, along where you're accompanying somebody. Ma. Wa. The wa, there's, I told you before that one of my teachers actually wrote a whole master's dissertation just on the letter wa in the Quran. Here it said and an oath. The letter wa, there are so many. It is very similar to the letter ma, and wa can have so many usages that wa can also mean just an addition. So you're making an addition, and it can also be that there's an oath. So wallahi, you're making an oath right there. You're putting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a witness. But wa can also just generally mean a general addition with no order. So there doesn't have to be an order with differences of opinions between scholars on whether there has to be an order or not. But generally, it's addition. So Sami came, wa Hamza, wa Ayub, wa Tawfiq, etc. So now I'm adding those names on. They all came. I didn't necessarily mean by that this person came first and that person came second. So that's a wa. Remember it. If you're gonna, how do I know if it's an oath or if it's, a general addition? You're going to be able to tell by the context. The context itself is going to tell you whether that wa is the oath wa or whether that wa to mean just a general addition. 99% of the times, it's actually going to mean addition, just an and. Wa, just a general addition. Now let's move on to the other box, which is the ma. All right. Now I want you to compare right here. Remember we said the ma, but here's one thing. You want to deconstruct the b ma. It's a b plus a ma together. It's a b and a ma together. And if b meant with and ma meant what, as we had done before, now we're putting them together. It means with what. If an means about and amma, so amma is composed of two items, which is an plus ma. So now it becomes amma together and it means, remember, we said ma generally means what, so an means about. So now about what? A little physics, little, not physics, math. All right. And fi means it, and fi ma is composed of two different words, which is the fi and the ma. So let's do it right there. And we're going to fi plus ma. If fi means in, I'm adding a ma to it. In what? Ka means a similitude. We talked about that. In here's kama. We talked about that earlier. Just as or as. So now these two items, like what? So kama would mean like, and because of the ka, all right? And the ma would mean what? But here what we're talking about is a specific material, right? Because what would mean what material you're talking about. All right, so let's move on. And li ma. Li, we said, would mean for. Li ma, for what? Simple. You see the patterning? You see the patterning right there? You're just adding to those, you're just adding the ma. All right, now let's do this one. And here's min, and mimma is actually composed of min and ma. And if min means from, then mimma would mean out of what or from what. All right, mimma, mimma, mimma خلقت. What are you made of? Well, I was created from طين. Amma. So this one, now we're going to a different group, because remember that at in general, we took that before. All right, we said that a is more of an inquiry on itself. Just the hamza in itself is more of an inquiry. So here, amma, not necessarily here giving you an inquiry, but just to keep a note right there. So you've got amma, as for. Now, here's one thing you want to pay attention to, is that amma would mean that there is an explanation coming up. So as for such and such and such. So now we're giving, as for is going to be that point that is going to be more descriptive to how this is distinguished from other items. So this would be amma. Amma, as for, and how is it different? Imma. Imma, now this is usually giving in times of order. So more of when you're giving an order, so you're going like an imperative. So with this imperative, I'm saying imma such or such. Sometimes it's an imperative, which is most of the times, imma, and many times imma can be in where it's giving you the choice. You choose what imma such or such. You figure out the difference. You figure out the choice. You compare the two and choose what you think is imma. So either this or that. There's imma. All right, let's move on. Anna and ma. So by the way, most of the times you could see right here, bima, amma, fima, kama, there's always that ma, and that's going to help you. So if you're able to know these, and you're able to know, these prepositions on the side, and you're able to figure out which and what to deconstruct, then you're going to be able to compose. So it's deconstruct and compose. If you figure out what to deconstruct from what, then you're going to be able to compose and bring about that composition, that understanding, in order to figure it out. So here we go. Anna ma. So remember anna ma. Now let's deconstruct anna and plus ma. Anna ma. So we said ma would usually mean what. Anna would be more of a explanation. Anna is different than inna, because inna would mean you are saying verily, you're affirming something. But anna is more of a descriptive. Now you're going to go into more explanation as to why and what really is that matter. So anna is different than inna. Inna is affirming something, inna verily, and anna that is such and such. All right, now let's go on. So annama that. Now here we see it right there. That what? So that item, whatever you want to describe. Innama, look at annama and innama. All right. Well, it goes back to what we were saying right here. So anna would mean that. And then you go anna al malaikata such and such and such. Or inna would mean verily, I'm making sure, I'm here affirming a matter. That would be inna. And here, when you add, let's deconstruct again, but now you're adding the ma. So anna ma would mean that, whatever you want to explain. Inna ma, deconstruct, it's inna plus ma. Now it means verily, such and such, and we're going to explain it, is but. Okay, so inna ma, and it's going to explain it in more detailed item. Let's move on. Ka'annama. Let's deconstruct again. Now, ka'annama would be formed of the letter ka, which is this one, and anna and ma. See, look at it. It's actually, to deconstruct it, it's 4 or 3 different words at the same time. Ka and anna and ma. All right. And all this would mean as if. All right. Ka anna ma. So the ka would mean as. Here we go. Here's the as. Anna would mean, we said it meant that. So as that, and anna, and also ma would mean what. So as if, it in the end, as if, كأنما, it can also as if what, and it usually كأنما, and it is also always going to give you that it's about an impression. All right, so كأنما is more of an impression. It's describing an impression to something. So an impression, what impression are you going to get when you see chocolate cake? Okay, what's the impression that you get? Well, I get the impression that it's delicious. كأنما, on the inside, كأنما, I get a sense of happiness or whatever it is. By the way, chocolate cake is not my favorite, but this is, sometimes it's easier to explain when it's everybody's favorite. كلما, whenever. This is a really easy one. So كلما, every time such and such happens. كلما. And this is composed of كل and ما. كل means every. Right? So every, ما would mean what? So every whatever. Every when. Every time. So, and now we got these decomposed items here and there. Let's go ahead with the prefix for a verb. Now notice that it comes before or after a verb. I want you to pay attention to that one, because some of them, this is really easy and really straightforward, but you really need to realize, how am I going to decompose a word when I actually see this? So قد, and a verb. So let's take the easiest verb to think of, is usually everybody's favorite food. أكل. قد أكل الطعام, meaning he ate the food. But here's one thing. When you put the قد in it, meaning you're assuring with something. Okay, so قد would mean what they would call تحقيق, meaning it's affirming. If the verb after it was a past tense, the verb after was a past tense, that would mean that is affirming, that for sure this happened. But if the verb is in the present tense, that's when it would be to mean that it is maybe. It's not for sure. قد يأكل. قد يأكل would mean he might eat. We're not really sure, but maybe he will eat. قد يأكل. So in situations like that, now we have قد يأكل, and now it's in a place of doubt. قد يأكل. Now, this is the difference. You want to look at after the qad, do I have a past tense or a present tense? If it's a past tense, means it's affirming that, yes, for sure he ate it. But if the verb after it is a present tense, that means he might have eaten it. قد يأكل. He might eat it. We're not really sure. قد يأكل. And really fast, just on a side, really fast. If we are to have a past tense, usually in a regular, let's call it regular to mean that it doesn't have a vowel in it. For a regular verb, it's going to be akala, batala. It's going to be in that pattern. But for a present tense, it's usually going to have a ya or a ta. So ta'kul, tanam, yanam, etc. All right. So now we look at those patterns in order to see how they're similar or different. Sa, on the other hand, is more where the person is willing for the future. Willing for the future. They're not really sure, but they're doing some kind of a procrastination somehow. They're willing to do something, and they're planning for it. So يأكل, ينام, يعمل كذا. All right. So would come. All right. It would only come because it's going to talk about the future. Well, then you would only see it with a present tense. You're only going to see it with what is called فعل مضارع, which is a present tense. سوف, on the other hand, would mean to procrastinate. So you're going to say سوف, I might, I will, I plan. And سوف is more with a determination. All right, determination. The person is very determined, and they will express that determination by saying سوف, I will. And then you've got a present tense because, of course, you're going to do something in the future. So those only come with future because you're planning to do something for the future. And la and فعل. Now the word فعل here would tell you that there would be a verb here. And the verb la آكلن. Okay, so here we go. I've got the la, and this is the la, the same exact one. Remember, that's why I said there, you just accumulate that information, and then it basically helps you put everything together. All right, and la, and here we go, la and ajidan. And here's the noon. Now, here's one thing. You will find that frequently in the Quran, that you would have a word, the letter la, and then you would have a verb, and then you would have the na. All right? La ajidanna. La, and the verb is ajida. And the la would be that word, that letter that we said that would be for the future. And you've got the noon that has a shadda. This is to affirm. This is the strongest affirmation that you can actually have in the Quran. لا آكلن, لا أكيدن أصنامكم, لا. And when you have that, that is like, I am very determined and nothing is going to let me change my mind. This is the strongest that you will find in the Quran, where there's that la and the verb. And the verb is going to, well, what are you affirming? What are you going to really do? And then we would look at the verb. La akidanna. So let's use that. Let's put it down. La akidanna asnamakum. That's what Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ said. So the word is akid. Okay, here's akid. Akid means I'm going to plot, or I'm going to set a plan. And here it is, la akidanna. Now, I will for sure plot and implement that plot. I'm not just going to plan, but I'm going to put it into action. I'm going to really implement that idea. So here's that one. لآكلن. Let's put another verb instead of لأكيدن. لآكلن. I am for sure going to eat such and such. I know you guys, I'm giving examples only about food or kind. All right, so لقد, and you might say, how is لقد different than قد? Okay, so remember when we said for قد that there would be two different ways in where if it's a past tense, then this is affirming. Okay, then we call it in Arabic, we call it تحقيق, which means I'm affirming for sure I've done this, for sure I did such and such. But if it's in the future or present, then that would mean I'm not sure, maybe. All right, there's doubt. I might do it. All right. Versus the laqad, this is indeed. Now, what did I add? I added the la right here. All right, and I put it before the qad. Laqad. Now I'm affirming. Remember here's the la again. All right, the la is going to be indeed. Look at it. Here we go. Look at how many la's. The person that did this packet, he should have actually taken this one out and just left that one, and it would have made it less confusing. All right, because la would mean surely, and here, well, surely indeed, I added the la to the qad, and now it means indeed. Right? Because qad anyways would either come in the past tense to mean yes, I will do it for sure. In the past tense, yes, it was done for sure. But in the future would mean, it might happen. So when I put laqad, now surely and for sure, and it's going to be in the past tense. Laqad akala, such and such. It's going to be always in the past tense because you can never be sure about something in the future. All right? Unless you're putting this one. All right? Li and l, that's an imperative. Li and al. Let's give an example. So لأجل ذلك, for such and such, and it's giving you ليأكل, li and for. So it's giving you why is he doing such and such? Well, it is for. In other words, the reason to it is what X, Y, Z. Al, and this would be al, and it would only be before a verb. All right, so we only have it before a verb. So al-qamar, al-shams. Now, one thing is that the word al, it will always be written, but sometimes it can be silent, where the letter after it you will not, or the L sound, you would not say it. And those would be only after أبغي حاجك وخف عقيمة. All right. So in situations where it's any of those letters, al-ard, al-baqar, al-ghudruf, al-hajj, al-jamal, al-kahf, you would see that all those L's are going to be clearly audible. They're not silent if they come before this. Al-kahf, al-walad, al-halib, al-khaf, al-faqr, العقم, العلب, القمر, اليد, المفتاح, الهرة. All right, so now we got all those, and those were the letters that are called qamariya, which means the letters that we do practice with them, just like the word al-qamar. أبغي حاجك وخف عقيمة. Versus the other letters that are not part of the letters that I just wrote. أبغي حاجك وخف عقيمة. All the other letters, the L is going to be silent, but you will still see it in the Quran. All right, so that is more of a definite article. So it's defining something. Al, and what are we talking about here? But here's one thing, is that sometimes the al would mean what is called the al-ahdiyya and al-istighraqiyya. Okay, what does that mean? So sometimes when I say al such and such, sometimes it's included everything that is part of that is included in whatever I'm talking about, because this is a definite article, the. But sometimes this is not talking about all that. This is just telling you about, well, the idea of whatever is in your mind. That's what I'm referring to. And that's would be al-ahdiyya, meaning, well, whatever's on your mind, that's exactly what I'm talking about, which is, the paint. I'm talking about the paint that we both know what we're talking about. We're not talking about the paint for coloring the art. We're talking about the door paint, for example. The door paint. No, now here, when I would say al-ahdiyya would mean, no, we understand the context. There's a certain context that we're working on, and we know what we're talking about. And in this situation would mean that issue that we both right now know what we're referring to. Explain the again, or this one. This one, I'll explain both. So somebody's asking to repeat. So the li would mean li Hamza such and such. So Hamza has such and such. All right, li Hamza such and such. And al, okay. And by the way, here the al would be the imperative one, the imperative meaning. And this is actually in fiqh would mean that if it's in a verb, وَلْتَأْكُلْ وَلْتَأْكُلْ لْتَأْكُلْ, okay, you have to eat. All right, حذيفة كمان شوي بيجي. So now this l right there would mean that it's giving me an imperative. It's giving me an order, meaning that I have to do it. All right. Li, on the other hand, would mean this is for such and such. Al would mean the. And remember, I'll explain it one more time. So al would have two different categories. It could be that it's something that you and I know what we're talking about. It's referring to a specific item that we would know. It's called al-ahdiyya. And the istighraqiyya would mean every single matter that is included in this al, it is included in what we're talking about. All right. So here we go. And that's where sometimes in fiqh they would have differences of opinions. Is every single matter. Like for example, the Prophet ﷺ says, كنت قد نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور ألا فزوروها. So al-qubur, it's like, I told you not to visit it. Now you can visit it. Well, is he necessarily speaking to all the Muslims, or is he speaking to women or men only? So that's when they would have those explanations. No, he's referring only to men, or he's referring to all women. And here would more be in an inquiry. So you've got an inquiry, and لكم الذكر or له الأنثى لكم الأنثى. Okay, لكم الذكر وله الأنثى, or all right, لكم الذكر وله الأنثى, or تأمرهم أحلامهم بهذا, or, and here this is an inquiry, or is it? And you would get that the or would mean, well, you're here being the person to be questioned. So أو, now the أو is different. The أو is different because it's giving you a comparison. Okay, it's giving you أو, that comparison. You are putting a pattern, and when you have these two comparisons, these two patterns, and that's the أو. بعض would mean some of. That's a pretty straightforward. كل everyone. Okay, كل, which is really similar. I believe we did كلما somewhere, didn't we? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so كل would mean everyone or everything. Well, no, everyone, because it would only be involved with people. Okay, and here got كلما. So, decompose again. Not decompose, deconstruct, not decompose. Deconstruct it, and you will get that Again, it's all about deconstructing and constructing and learning how to put them together. Inna, we did that before when we did the inna and annama, just like these two. Let's deconstruct inna and anna. Anna would mean that. We did that before, right here, when we talked about this. And inna would mean verily. So for sure. All right. And ka'anna. Let's decompose again. We said ka'anna. We said the ka, and we had it here as like. And ka'anna, as if. All right. Remember, if anna would mean that, and ka'anna, you're decomposing it, the ka and the anna together. Now it's ka'anna, as if, putting it together. All right. Lakin, or lakinna, lakin. Now here's lakin. It's actually put together. It's not half. You can't really decompose it. Lakin, but, lakin would mean but or however. So lakin, so the difference between but and however is that when you say lakin, you're saying however, in other words, you know, despite all that, however, I would like to bring now with that argument, I'm giving you an explanation, and the explanation is going to be in such and such. Lakin, and this is an exclusion. You're excluding an item. Lakin, out of all the different things, lakin, but now here's an exclusion, and then you're giving the reason for that exclusion. لعل. Now this is لعل. لعل, it's actually in Arabic, it's called حلف وترجي, meaning that you've got hope, you've got a perhaps. But here's one thing, is that, like, let's say in Surah Taha, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلَ لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. لَعَلَّهُ. لعله, it's not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was hoping that he would listen, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change anybody's hearts at any minute. But here, لعل would mean, in this situation, perhaps, maybe we are in hope, and perhaps. And now this is an that. Now this is very similar to anna, but that and that. But usually anna is adding on that, adding on more detail. So you and then there would be a verb to come after it. In, and an is different than in, because in would mean that if. You're here putting a condition. In تغفر لهم, or what does the A say? Now I lost it. All right. So in if. An is that. Iya, right? Iya is alone. So iyaya farhabun. Iyaya means alone, only me, only I. Asa would actually come asa, and they would usually have a helping verb, and asa and yakul, or asa and such and such. So asa would be very similar to la'alla, but this is more of, you've got that tarajjin, but this one asa possibly, maybe, and this one you're putting that hope, but asa is, it can happen. The probability is lower, but it can happen. Lamma, la, and ma. Decompose again in order to put them together. Lamma, and lamma is when. Okay, when such and such happens, you'll see such. Law is different than lawla, by the way, but That's a more description. لو, if. So if such matters happen, then this is what's going to happen. لو, very straightforward. لو. Ya and ayyuha. Now, ya ayyuha is actually composed of two items. The ya, which means you're calling on somebody. Oh, you're calling on somebody, you're trying to grab their attention. Yeah. And ayyuha is decomposed of ay and ha. All right. So ayyuha, ya ayyuha. Okay, ay. So ay would mean which, and ha is more of pronoun. So ya ayyuha, and here it just says oh, but it would more be, they just put it here as oh, but it would mean, you're calling on somebody and you have a specific pronoun, you've got a specific person um, that you are referring to, and ay is yeah, ayyuha, ay, and it's including everybody. So ay and all those that are included in this pronoun. So anybody you're calling on to, whoever belongs to this pronoun. So let's say it that way. You're calling on to whoever belongs to this pronoun, and that's why you can't have ya ayyuha with who are you talking to? Are you talking to the people? Are you talking to the believers? Are you talking to the hypocrites? Are you talking to the kafirs? Who are you really talking to? So, yeah, ayyuha, decomposing. It's like, okay, all those that belong to this pronoun that we're going to talk to you about, which is the people here, for example, yeah, ayyuhan nas kulu, oh people. Yeah, ayyuha, it's talking to whoever group of people or you're referring to, and then it becomes yeah. Yeah in itself would have to have a noun after it. So yeah tariq, yeah sama, yeah ard, yeah, whatever it is. So then it's you're you're the first person directing that munada, that call onto that person. Here's a question. What is the difference between ka'anna and ka'annama? All right, ka'anna and ka'annama. Let me find them in here. Ka'annama and ka'anna. Here's ka'annama, ka'annama, and can't find ka'anna. All right. So in general, ka'annama, ka'anna, and ka'annama. All right. So with ka'anna and ka'annama, there are different usages for it. But ka'anna is more, you're giving that similitude, and ka'annama also you're giving that similitude, but then you're having that what in it, that ma. And scholars would go in more arguments on what the ma, which is ism al-mawsul in this situation, what it would actually mean. So now I'm giving more explanation, more definition, all right, on certain things. But ka'annama would usually be your impression on something. You would have a certain impression. What was your impression to such and such matter? This is ka'annama. And ka'anna fi udhanayhi waqar. It doesn't literally mean that. I'll give you the A and I'll explain the usage. So the ayah would say that as if they had, as if there's a waqar, as if there's a barrier, as if there's something pasted in their ear. They can't even hear what you're saying. All right. So this is ka'anna. This ka'anna appeared in that ayah to mean as if they had something, cementing their ear, blocking their ears. Ka'anna. Are you really and literally going to see something in their ears? Let's do a fast evaluation. Are we going to see something in their ears? No. So كأن في أذنيه وقر, as if they had something in their ears. Just to give you a comparison, how that would affect and come about to the same conclusion. It's like they can't even hear you. as if their ears are blocked, as if they're sealed. Now, as if versus كأنما, you're getting more of an impression. So an impression versus you're actually comparing two different things, كأن, and comparing, you're trying to get how is this similar to that. All right. So that's it for today. And if there are any questions, I actually want to do the test, but I think I'll do the fast test on the ones before it. So I'm gonna not share the screen in order to see who is ready for the test. All right, so I'm sharing a totally different screen, and all right, I'm sharing a totally different screen. So if you are ready, I'm going to ask you some things. All right, here we go. I'm gonna, if you're ready for the test, just raise your hand and I'll ask you some things. All right, I'll ask you on some of those. I'm sorry, you guys, we are using the other Zoom code. What happened was is that my sister was telling me that she might be positive for COVID-19. She's really not feeling well. And I'm calling her. She's not with me. She's in Palestine. And I'm calling her and she's not answering. So let's just hope that she didn't go into some kind of an illness. All right. And if somebody is ready to take the test, so go ahead. Box 5 Quizlet. Okay. You know, Hamza, you're doing an excellent job, man. Let's see. So I'm going to, here we go. All right. Who's ready for the test? Let's see for the test. And we're going to get box 5 and box 6. I'm going to send it to you all. Box 5 and box 6 is the Quizlet, and that's to help you. Kind of test yourself, so it doesn't seem like anybody is raising their hand. So on the Quizlet, you've got box 5 and box 6, and I just sent it to you on the WhatsApp group, and that way you could actually see it. So I'm going to send it to everyone on the WhatsApp group, and that way you can actually join and you can make use of those tests. But next week, inshallah, we'll be doing the test since not everybody is excited to take the test right now. So our test is going to be, let me share this again. Our test is going to be in boxes. Ready? Let me share that one. Our test is going to be in, Adama is ready. Okay, so our test is going to be in boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's 6 boxes right there. We've only done a few classes, so 6 boxes right there, and we still have 7, 8, and we're getting closer to those other types of decomposing. You guys, it's going to get easier. Those prepositions and those little glitches right there sometimes are even harder than the other ones, but you'll get it. All right, so Adama, are you ready? Adama is ready. Let's do it right there. And I'm trying to unmute you, but I won't be able to. I will be uploading them on YouTube, but I'm doing construction at home, and that's why they're kind of late. But I will be uploading them on YouTube, all the videos, inshallah. And I got the hang of it. I already, I might even upload it now. So Adama, I'm trying to unmute you, but I'm not able to unmute. So regardless, so here we go, and up to 6, so that's 6 boxes. Please work on those, and next week we'll inshallah get the test rolling. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody, and see you all. So today is Monday. See you all Saturday inshallah. All right, Adam, are you ready?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, about you?
Very good. Alhamdulillah. Are you okay? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to share a different screen. That way you can't see it. Okay. So don't use your own screen. Ready?
Let me see here.
Here we go. So هذا.
This.
هذه.
This for woman.
Yep. And I'm going to use the word, I'm going to use the word kitab, and you're going to tell me what it means if I were to put the following pronoun. Kitabukum.
Okay. Their books? No,
There,
their book.
well, kitabukum would mean your books. So you're talking to a group of people.
Your book.
Bi.
Okay.
Kitab,
Feet, inside.
kitabi. So I'm saying kitab and e.
Oh, my book.
My book.
My book.
Right. Kitabuhunna.
Our book.
Their book. Kitabuhunna, their book for a group of women. Kitabuhunna. And the easiest way to say it,
Okay, hunna.
hunna, that ha is usually
Mm-hmm.
to, hum, hunna, hin, hunna, haula, etc. It's usually referring to another
Mm-hmm.
another person. Okay, kitabukuma.
Bukuma. I think I forgot that one. Bukuma.
Your book, but it's talking to two people.
I think it can.
All right.
Huh?
So, yeah, kitabukuma would mean to two people, and it's referring to, yep, kitabukuma. All right.
Okay.
Let's do something else. Tahta. Tahta.
Tahta up.
Tahta is underneath.
This, okay, down. Yeah, sorry,
Down.
down. Fauka is up. Yeah.
Yep. Fauqa is up. Good job. Al.
Yeah.
Just al. Al البيت, for example. Al.
Al. Is it the al that is draw?
Al is family. Al.
Oh, fine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Family. Bisa.
Evil.
Evil. Good job. Yep. That's good. And حيث.
So I can't remember that. Sorry.
Try. حيث.
Is it period time or something?
Yep. It's wherever, or حيث, wherever. That's it. حيث, wherever. And let's
Okay.
do, yep. And what about إذ?
If is it when for the
Yep.
present?
There you go. It's when. Yeah, it's when.
Yeah.
Id is for the past. So remember when such and such happened? Well, those are similitudes. Id is in the past. Let's see Hamza. Hamza, Jazakallah khairan, Adama. And well, inshallah, this is like a pre-test. So next week, inshallah, you'll be more prepared. Hamza, are you ready? All right.
Inshallah, I'm ready.
All right. So, do you see a white screen on your screen?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Here we go. Meta.
Meta is like when.
When. All right. مثلا.
Like similarity, like example.
Right. بل.
Like something like negative, like not affirming, the opposite, right?
Right. So
Because Bella is affirming, right?
right. So
Okay.
bel, you are rejecting one matter and you're affirming another.
Yeah.
So bel, somebody would ask, did you eat chocolate cake? Bel peas, bel fasulia. It's like, no, for sure it wasn't cake, but it was beans. All right. And let's go. خلفة. Behind. Good. In and illa. So if I got in plus illa in the same sentence.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one completely.
You didn't
Nothing but.
Yep. So it would tell you that nothing but. So what does that mean? So in would mean, if in situations like that, illa would be that exception. It's excluding something. All right. So always illa is an exclusion. So it from all this generalization, there's that little small group that acts as an exception. All right.
Was there like an ayah as an example? Like with
There,
in and idda?
right now I can't think of one on the top of my head. Let me look it up. All right. I'm gonna look it up and see if I can find it. Just the word illa, it appeared 666 times. So I'm just going to scroll really fast to see if I can actually find one out of, yeah, it's scrolling really fast. I can't find one right now. But I will find you one, inshallah, and hopefully I can prepare it by next week. That's my homework. Okay. I can't find both of them together, but I will find them, inshallah, in order to help you get it. All right. And let's go on for another one. Aina.
Aina is like where?
Where? Aina, where? Simple. All right. Let's go on. And I'm going to put a noun, and I'm going to say the pronoun with it. Kitabuna.
Our book.
Our book. Kitabuhuma.
Their book, and then there are two of them, like Zdua.
Right. And kitabuka.
Your book for male, or like, male, not female.
I got the example that you requested for the in and illa. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilay. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilay. So the ayah says, in attabi'u, I only follow illa ma yuha ilay. Specifically, what was revealed unto me. And this is in Surah Yunus. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilay. In attabi'u illa. So I'm going to write it. Oh, you guys can't see it. Okay, so I'll show it to you. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilay. In attabi'u. So here's in attabi'u ma yuha. In attabi'u illa ma yuha. Illa ma yuha. You see it? So out of in attabi'u, you're asking me, well, what are you doing? What are you following here? So I would say in attabi'u. So the ayah says, قُلْ مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أُبَدِّلَهُ مِنْ تِلْقَاءِ نَفْسِي. And tell them, I'm not going to be able to change it by my own self or my own whims. In attabi'u illa ma yuha ilay. I'm only following illa ma yuha ilay. I'm only following only what was revealed unto me. You see it? So that's that ayah that you had requested. All right. So we'll see you all next week, inshallah, on Saturday. So please practice those lines. It's not hard because we're getting really close to that fun stuff. In the beginning, it's like, okay, what are you doing? But then you'll get it, inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.